Okay, the last presentation at the Immerse Financials was a great presentation from Chris. We're going to ask him what's the future of banking. He's writer of the book Digital Bank, which has been sold like crazy. And he was from the old banking world, and he's very enthusiastic about the new. Everybody else is going to drink, but we're going to interview Chris. Okay, we ended the Immerse Financials with Chris Skinner, and you wrote a book which is smoking hot, digital banking. How hot is it?
Well, it's sold more than my other 10 books combined in 4 months, and the other books have been out there for 7 years, so it's doing amazingly well.
You're hitting oil, okay. And then you're basically, what do you predict in that book being digital? Is it the demise of the old banking system, or the upcoming of the new Bitcoin stuff, or do you have a hybrid model in your ideas?
It covers everything about creating a digital bank or digital financial institution, and really looking at how do you evolve an old institution that's built around physical distribution of paper to this new digital age, or equally, if you're launching a brand new financial institution, what's the best way to do it?
But Chris, you're from the old banking world. I mean, you're one big old banking man yourself, right?
No.
You've always worked in the banking system.
No.
No? What have you done before?
I spent all my life in technology. I've spent all my life in technology dealing with financial institutions that have been resistant to technology change.
So that's what I'm saying. You have been in that industry. Okay, he's not a banker, he's from the technology. But it has been predicted so many times that the banking system would change. And they have adapted. They went from 100% physical visits to 99% digital. They've made all these transitions. Why do you think it's really going to change now?
Well, they are making these transitions yet again. So being digital isn't something that says the banks will all disappear. They're still going to be around. But the banks recognize that it's a fundamental change of their business model and architecture. So BBVA, for example, is saying that in about 3 years, 95% of their customer interaction, corporate and consumer, will be through digital access. And that means they have to be fit for that digital access, which...
Isn't it already the case that everything is much more digital? I mean, here in the Netherlands, if you take ABN AMRO, they have a little bank here, and their mobile app gets more visitors per day than all the physical banks in 3 years.
Yeah, and they're closing branches fast as a result. But the issue really is that, and it doesn't exist with every
That's
bank.
not new. That's been 10 years. Like there has been 10 years like that. Well, first internet banking and then mobile banking.
Let's step back one second. The issue is that most of the banks have added new technology capabilities for access as channels on their old systems. So their back-end core systems are last century. And the reason why that's not working anymore is that as everything is digital, you need to have consistency across mobile, wearable, Internet of Things, cars, TVs, branches, everything. And you can't have...
But you're saying it doesn't work anymore. They're still doing 50,000 transactions per second. They're basically maintaining all the ledger from all the people in the world. In the first world, they have billions of people who have bank accounts. Why do you say it's not working anymore?
Well, firstly, they're able to respond slowly because they have a licensing system and regulations that make it difficult to get into their marketplace. And equally, they are currently the incumbents. But the reason it's not working anymore is that customers can see the cracks in the wall if they have back-end systems that are creaking and aching with legacy, of which most of the banks I deal with have that problem. And now they're saying, how do we change that back end so it's fit to support the front end?
But aren't the banks really having problems because a few guys were so powerful they could transactions which brought down the whole financial system? They were too powerful and money could swift too fast.
Yeah, and that's part of the regulatory change. I mean, it's quite interesting that if you look at the regulations across Europe right now, they're moving far quickly into a model that allows new entrants, particularly in payments, particularly in loans and credit, because they recognize as regulators that you need more competition. You need to make the system small enough to fail rather than too big to fail.
Okay. You are living in a different world than I am, because what I see is that the regulators, they clamp down on everything. They make very, very tough rules for everybody, which are almost impossible for a startup to do. Where is the easy regulation which you see?
Well, the hard regulation is on the old banks. The easy regulation is in supporting fintech startups. For example, in London, a group called Innovate Finance was launched in August, and George Osborne, the UK Chancellor, said, I'm putting £200 million of investment into fintech startups in the UK because I want to see this market grow. We're going to lower the barriers, make it easier for these companies to create and register, and have regulations that support their growth. It's a very different attitude.
The government supporting innovation. You've been in technology change in the financial industry forever. Do you think it's accelerating now much faster, or is it just going at the same rate?
Well, in 2009, there was about $250 million invested in fintech startups. This year, it's more like $4 billion. It's getting faster.
But it's teeny-peeny little compared to the investment which the traditional banks are making. They're making hundreds and hundreds of billions of investment.
Which is why I'm saying some of the banks are getting fit for the future or are already fit for the future. But a lot of them still have this back-end legacy system, spaghetti infrastructure, through mergers and acquisitions built since the 1960s, that's creaking and failing at the edges and will soon be very visible at the front end because the cyber attacks will break them apart.
Okay. Well, there's one thing for sure. It's a great time to write a book about digital banking and to give presentations all over the world. Thank you for coming to Amsterdam.
Thank you.